Everyone wants a piece of this. But have you ever wondered where your gold jewelry actually comes from?
There is a real chance that we could be buying Sudanese gold.
But in Sudan, there's a dark side to gold. The country is more than 2 years into a brutal war.
Gold is a major fuel for the current conflict.
I think many Sudanese still see this is not our conflict.
Players outside of Sudan want the gold too. And willing buyers keep the violence going. The war in Sudan started with fighting on the streets of Sudan's capital, Khartoum. A paramilitary group quickly took control of the capital, the airport, and the presidential palace, pushing out Sudan's military. That group, the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, also took control of this, the country's major gold refinery in Khartoum. During the takeover, the RSF reportedly seized gold bars worth $150 million. And that was only the beginning.
The resource which should be being used to secure and improve and unify Sudan is being used to destroy, disintegrate and divide the Sudanese country.
That's Ahmed Soliman from the British think tank Chatham House. He has published a report on the role of gold in Sudan's war with Suleiman Baldo, whom we'll meet later. Before we follow the gold, let's look at who is fighting in Sudan. We have already seen the Rapid Support Forces, RSF. They are led by Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, known as Hemeti. The RSF is a powerful paramilitary group. The other side is the Sudanese Armed Forces, or SAF, led by Abdul Fattah Burhan. He's Sudan's de facto leader. That's why he speaks on behalf of Sudan at the United Nations. There are more armed groups involved in the current conflict, but Burhan and Hemeti are the two players to remember. In the past, they actually worked together to overthrow Sudan's former authoritarian president, Omar al-Bashir. That came after one of Sudan's largest waves of pro-democracy protests. For decades, Sudan was run by the military, and people finally wanted to see civilian rule. That's what the two generals promised to deliver. But they didn't. Instead, they went to war, battling each other for power and Sudan's resources. Sesame seeds, livestock, gum arabic, a key ingredient for products like these, and gold. When oil-rich South Sudan became independent in 2011, gold became Sudan's most valuable commodity.
Gold is hugely valuable, and this is what has made it really the most significant source of income for the warring parties since the war broke out.
The SAF and the RSF have basically split the country and are controlling different parts of it. Now meet Ahmed Soliman's co-author for that research paper on gold. Suleiman Baldo runs a think tank documenting corruption and the war in Sudan.
This divide places the states or the regions that are the highest in gold production under the control of the Sudan Armed Forces, and most of the artisanal mining areas in the country in the areas under Rapid Support Forces.
In artisanal mining, people use their bare hands and toxic chemicals like mercury and cyanide to extract gold from rocks and sand. Around 80% of Sudan's gold production is from artisanal mining. That means the whole industry relies on local miners. And it's not just the chemicals that pose a risk to them. During the war, Songo became one of the most important gold mining areas for the RSF, with a processing factory here. You can see several tanks with liquid used to treat and refine the gold.
The Rapid Support Forces would coerce thousands, tens of thousands of artisanal miners into selling their tailings to this factory. So the miners don't have an option. They are forced, to sell under market prices.
And the Sudanese Armed Forces have repeatedly bombed this gold-rich area under RSF control.
This exposes, local artisanal miners, by no fault of theirs, to be caught in the crossfire between the Rapid Support Forces and the army.
And big trade hubs, which are also used for gold, have become a target on both sides.
What we are seeing in this current emerging phase of warfare is an attempt to damage and destroy critical infrastructure. We're seeing a lot more drone warfare.
Port Sudan is the Sudanese army's strategic hub and serves as the interim capital for the military government. In May 2025, the RSF hit Port Sudan with a series of drone strikes. Until then, Port Sudan was relatively safe. It was a destination for people fleeing conflict in other parts of the country. Nearly 25 million people are facing acute hunger in Sudan. And Port Sudan is a vital entry point for humanitarian aid and food. And a key exit point for goods from SAF-controlled areas, including, you guessed it, gold.
Gold is a commodity that has a rapid turnaround in terms of collection of proceeds. And therefore, it is very crucial for the ability of the two parties to purchase weapons.
While Port Sudan has been a target for the Rapid Support Forces, the Sudanese Armed Forces have repeatedly attacked Nyala, a key hub for the RSF. The airport is where the RSF brings the gold from the Songo mining area we mentioned.
So you have both gold being flown out from Nyala airport, as we understand, and weapons being flown in.
So gold is paying for RSF and SAF weapons. Both warring parties have been accused of war crimes since fighting began in 2023. The RSF even of genocide. The horrors of war can seem far from where the gold ends up. A long way from Sudan.
Drinking a 24-karat gold cappuccino at the Burj Al Arab in Dubai? Just a regular Wednesday.
I'm all trying the gold cappuccino.
Dubai is sometimes called the City of Gold. And a big chunk of the gold in the United Arab Emirates comes from Africa, including from Sudan. Which is why we mentioned Nyala, that RSF hub, because it's the UAE that is reportedly giving the RSF weapons in exchange for gold, like artillery and the type of drones being used in recent attacks.
The RSF has been getting a lot of their drones allegedly from the UAE.
That's May Hassan, Her research focuses on African politics and authoritarian regimes.
The RSF would not even be here today if it weren't for the backing of the UAE over the past many, many years.
The United Arab Emirates has denied providing military support to any conflict party in Sudan. Let's go back to all this bling to understand why the UAE seems so invested in Sudan. The UAE is a hub for refining gold, for melting and purifying gold in a process that looks like this. That means the UAE is the perfect place to turn Sudan's little bits of gold from artisanal mining into nice gold bars, which can conveniently cover up where the gold comes from.
That the United Arab Emirates is dominant in conflict gold, not only in relation to Sudan, but also to all conflict countries across sub-Saharan Africa.
The United Arab Emirates continues to try and diversify its economy away from oil, gas, and decarbonize its economy. Gold and the service trade has become much more important.
Round the pan like this.
Because gold is booming. In times of global uncertainty, it's seen as a safe bet. The UAE has become one of the world's biggest hubs for the gold trade. It's part of a wider strategy to become a global player.
The UAE is really trying to gain regional hegemony in the Red Sea arena. This really, really important area. You know, Sudan, not just part of the Horn, but its strategic position on the Nile, given Red Sea shipping lanes. And so the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Iran, many of these countries fighting for influence in this area.
So we already mentioned the UAE is reportedly backing Hemeti's militia, the RSF. The UAE has worked with RSF fighters in other conflicts in the past. And Egypt, run by a former general, is the main backer for the Sudanese Armed Forces under Burhan. The SAF is Sudan's official army. And it has strong historic ties with Egypt's military. Egypt has reportedly been providing military support to the SAF.
So Egypt wants a stable neighbor, but one that is more regime-aligned.
Egypt and Sudan share a long border, which runs through the desert. Part of it is disputed, and it's not well regulated.
Egypt is opening its borders for gold coming from Sudan because it has a serious economic crisis. It needs to boost the gold reserve of the central bank. Egypt has created policies in recent years to encourage the sale of gold coming from Sudan without much paper restrictions.
A lot of gold from SAF territories crosses into Egypt here, mostly through smuggling. 1.5 million people have fled war-torn Sudan for Egypt since the conflict began. And as cynical as it sounds, many are being used to smuggle gold.
There is an organized human trafficking chain from Sudan. Each of these vehicles smuggling people into Egypt carries multiple bars of gold. And this is the main channels for smuggling gold into Egypt.
SAF's gold mostly goes to Egypt, but guess where it ultimately ends up?
All the gold produced in Sudan, whether in Rapid Support Forces areas or areas controlled by the Sudanese army, end up in United Arab Emirates.
Yep, you heard right. SAF gold ends up in the UAE, which is backing the SAF's enemy, the RSF. So gold from both sides ends up in the UAE, because the pull of the Dubai gold market is just so strong.
This indicates the complexity and how intricate is, this war. With both sides in this very vicious, destructive, inhumane war, both trading with the same external actor, United Arab Emirates.
The war has been intensified and prolonged because both sides have large-scale backing from regional powers that are invested in seeing their man end up winning this war.
Along with the UAE and Egypt, there are way more players involved. They're either providing military support to one of the warring parties or have strategic interests in the region, including gold. All efforts to end the fighting have failed so far.
I think any sort of engagement to try and resolve the war has to have some sort of robust international coalition, and that has to include factoring in gold.
So that one day Sudan's gold can be used to rebuild the country instead of destroying it.